Hey there, everybody. Zolwarn here from Huddle Around Games, and today we're going to do something a little different with our cribbage today. You see, there's this new program out there you may have heard called ChatGPT or OpenAI. It's basically an artificial intelligence that's really super smart. You can ask it questions, you can ask it to do basic tasks in regards to like answering questions or programming or making tables or that kind of thing. And I've been using it for other parts of my job, and it's actually really cool. I've seen other YouTubers make videos on their topics and ask ChatGPT questions to see what comes up, and it's actually really good. But that got me wondering, since we do a lot of cribbage here at Huddle Around Games, how would ChatGPT do in cribbage? So I'm going to ask it a few questions, and I'll share the results I got back from it, and we'll see if we are all doomed to bow down to our AI overlords, at least in terms of cribbage. So let's get started. All right, the first question I asked is, what is the best hand in cribbage? How many points is it worth, and how do you count it? And here's what I got. The best hand in cribbage is called a 29 hand, and it's worth a total of 29 points. It got it right. To get this hand, the player must have a hand that consists of 4 fives of the same suit. What? 4 fives of the same suit, worth 20 points. I suppose, but of the same suit. What kind of deck are you playing with, ChatGPT? A jack of the same suit as the fives, worth 1 point for his knob. We're keeping it PG, so I'm gonna let that one pass, even though it should be knobs. Okay. Yeah, sure. Why not? I suppose a fifth card of this. Wait, hold on a minute. We had 4 fives and a jack. Isn't that's 5 already? And now we're gonna have another fifth card. So we have a mysterious other fifth card of the same suit as the fives and the jack, which is either a 5 for 4 of a kind, even though we now have 5 fives of the same suit, or a 10 for a flush, worth 8 points. The flush is worth 8 points. Well, now we're up to like 6 or 7 cards, so why not? To count a 29 hand in cribbage, the player lays out their hand and announces 29. Just say it, 29. And then they score the hand for a total of 29 points, which includes 16 points for the 4 fives and the jack, even though the 4 fives were worth 20 a second ago. 1 point for his knobs. The jack of the same suit as the fives. Well, that's kind of the heart of the rule, though not quite. 8 points for the flush, or 4 of a kind, like they're interchangeable. Like flushes and 4 of a kinds are interchangeable, which 4 of a kind is 12. And flush is never going to be 8. Okay. 4 points for the combination of the 5 and jack, since they can be counted twice. Once for the flush, 4 of a kind, and once for the knob. There it is again. Note that it is extremely rare to get a rare hair. Note that it is extremely rare to get a 29 hand in cribbage, and it is considered a great achievement in the game. That part is absolutely true, but the rest of it is not. So, ChatGPT, you are 0-1. You got this one. I'm going to say this one is almost completely wrong. If you want to learn about the real 29 hand and how it works, I'll have an eye pop up. You can click on that, and that'll take you to my 29 video. All right, next question. This one is a pretty easy example of what to throw in a circumstance. So if I was the dealer in cribbage and I had 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and jack, what should I throw into the crib? Obviously, if it's obviously if it's our crib, well, we get to keep those. So I would toss a 7 and 8. 3, 4, 5 gives me a run. The 5 goes with the jack, so I've got 15, 2, and a run is 5. And I've got pretty good chances with the cut. And I've got 2 in the crib from that 7 plus 8, making 15. So I tried to make it so it was slightly, like it required a little bit of reasoning, but still had a very clear answer, especially when you are the dealer. So let's see how the AI does. As the dealer in cribbage, you have the advantage of being able to choose which cards to keep in your hand and which cards to throw into the crib. Well, you always get to choose, but it's your crib. That's where the advantage is. The crib is a separate hand that is scored by the dealer at the end of the round. Yes! So you want to throw the cards that are unlikely to create strong combinations. Yes, but we're the dealer. In the hand you described, a good strategy would be to throw the 3 of clubs and 8 of hearts into the crib. No. It's our crib. This gives you a good chance of keeping a run of 3 cards in your hand, 4, 5, 7, and a jack of clubs, which is worth 1 point for his knob. Okay. if it is the same suit as the starter card. That part's right. So it understood it that way. But we're cutting ourselves way down. We've got 15-2, and that's it. So we went from 6, we went from 5, 7 points, probably more, down to 2 for Own Crib. So not good. By throwing 3 in the crib, you also reduce the chances of creating a high scoring combination like pairs or flushes. Okay. I don't understand that part. The 3 and 8 are unlikely to combine with the starter card to make a run or a flush. The flush has nothing to do with it, but the run, yes, I agree with that part. That statement is true. They're a good choice to throw into the crib. I would love to play ChatGPT because if you're giving up like 6 or 7 point hands and taking 2 instead, I would be happy to play you. So ChatGPT, this one is wrong. You are 0 for 2. Question 3. What are par holes in cribbage and how can they affect your game strategy? Par holes are a pretty advanced topic. The average cribbage player probably doesn't really worry about par holes. It's more for advanced play. And even I'll admit myself, most of the time, especially when I'm dealer, I'm not super worried about par holes, but I do check throughout like where I'm at and where my opponent's at to adjust my strategy where possible. So let's see what ChatGPT says. In cribbage, a par hole refers to a hole on the cribbage board that is marked with a number that is equal to the number of points needed to win the game. For example, if the game is being played to 121, the par hole will be marked as 121. Nope, wrong. Completely wrong. Okay. Par holes can affect your game strategy in a few ways, sure. First, they provide a clear goal for the players to aim for. Not really. When a player is close to the par hole, they may adjust their strategy to focus on scoring points quickly to reach or exceed the par hole before their opponent. They're just using it as the game hole. Par holes aren't the game hole. Second, par holes can affect how players count their hands during the game. When a player's score reaches the par hole, they need to be careful not to exceed it, as going over the par hole resets the player's score to 0. What is this rule? It's like, are we playing like darts or something, where you have to land exactly at 0? Isn't that darts? I'm not sure. No, this is a rule that is completely wrong. This means players may be more conservative in their counting strategies as they approach the par hole, opting for lower scoring combinations rather than risking it going over the par hole. No, just no. Finally, a par hole can affect how players choose to peg in during the game. That is correct, but I don't think their reasoning is probably right. If a player is leading the game, the opponent is far from the par hole, the leading player may try to peg slowly and control the tempo of the game. Whoa. In order to prevent their opponent from catching up quickly. Wait a second. If the other player is close to their par hole, they may take more risk and try to peg aggressively in order to catch up to their opponent. Okay, that one I can get behind. If you are way ahead of your par hole and your opponent is far behind there, or basically if your opponent is far behind their par hole and you're close to yours or above yours, yeah, sure. Peg conservatively. Pass up on points to try and slow them down. I totally agree with that. And if you're someone who's way behind, you need to peg aggressively. Even if you're like, okay, out of this exchange, I might give up 6 points, but I'm going to take 4. You need every point you can get. And then you just try to keep with it until you get a good hand and some good luck your way. So I do agree with that. Overall, par holes provide a clear goal for players to aim for and can influence game strategy in a number of ways, from scoring and counting to pegging and overall game tempo. True. So of all their points, it looks like they had they had a definition, which was wrong. They had the first strategy, which was wrong. They had a second strategy, which was wrong and actually had a completely wrong rule. So if you didn't know anything about cribbage, you now have a completely wrong rule in your head. But then that last bit about pegging did have a hint of truth to it. So I would say I would kind of say this one's half and half, but because of making up a rule that just doesn't even exist in the game about going over the game hole and then resetting to 0, I'm going to say this one's wrong. So 0 for 3, ChatGPT. Pegging question. Let's say we're pegging in the game of cribbage. It's my lead and I have a 4 of hearts, 4 of clubs, 7 of spades, 8 of diamonds in my hand. What should I lead? I would say that the pretty clear answer there is to lead the 4. If they pair it, then you can come back with another 4 and get 6 points for trips or a pair royal pair, however you prefer to say it. I probably wouldn't lead the 7 or 8, because if you led the 7 or 8, they could come back with a 15, and then you could pair it to get the points back, but you're risking giving up, because if you lead the 7 and they have a 7, you've given away 2 points for nothing, and you have nowhere to go from it. So That's just my 2 cents. So let's see what Cribbage says. ChatGPT, rather. In cribbage, the strategy for leading during the pegging phase can be complex and depend on a variety of factors. True, including the cards in your hand, current score, and the cards that have already been played. Absolutely. In the hand you described, one potential strategy would be to play one of the fours. Whoa. This creates a possibility of scoring points for a pair. Maybe they mean for like a pair royal. Playing a four also avoids leading with a card that could create a run. Sure, I guess the 7 and 8 could, as none of the other cards in your hand are consecutive. Not sure what that is, but overall, I agree with the 4. If you decide to lead with a 4, you'll then need to pay attention to your opponent's next play. If they play a card that creates a pair with your 4, you will score 2 points for the pair. No, you won't. They'll score 2 points for the pair, but then you can come back and score 6 points for 3 of a kind. So maybe it doesn't understand that part of the rules. If they play a card that does not create a pair, you may want to continue playing cards that are of a different rank than your opponent in order to try to create a run or other scoring combination. Okay. I guess so. Alternatively, you can consider leading with the 7 of spades, since this is a relatively low card and creates the possibility of scoring run if your opponent plays an 8 or 6. If I play the 7 and the opponent plays an 8, how am I going to get a run off of that? Not sure. If they do a 6, yeah, that's fine. I come back with that, with the 8 to make a run of 3. Okay. Also, however, leading with a 7 also risks giving your opponent the opportunity to score points for pair or for making 15 with the 4s in your hand. Okay, not with the 4s in your hand, but yes, one of the reasons that people don't like to play 5 or above as their lead is because those can all be made into a 15 with another card. If you play 4 or lower, they can't really make 15s off of it, so it's usually a safer pegging card. Ultimately, the decision of which card to lead in cribbage depends on a variety of factors, and the best strategy will vary depending on the specific circumstances of each game. Absolutely true. As I look with this one, I think it's missing some of the rules, and some of its reasoning is not quite clear to me, but by picking the 4 as their lead, I'm going to give this one a win. So this would have been a good lead, even if their reasons were kind of wonky a little bit. So we're going to say, all right, good job, ChatGPT. You are now 1 and 3. Final question, and if you've watched some of my channel videos at all, you'll understand that this one is like my pet peeve in terms of cribbage, and that is, explain to me how flushes work in cribbage. Specifically, how do you flush the crib? I'm not going to say most people, but a good chunk of cribbage players, even people who really love the game, do this wrong. It's easily the most misunderstood rule in the game, and it's the subject of a lot of frustration from people who don't understand the rule because they think they're either getting cheated, or that the program is broken, or that those of us that follow the official rules are crazy. So let's read their answer, and hopefully I don't go insane. In cribbage, a flush is a scoring combination that occurs when all of the cards in a player's hand or in the crib are of the same suit. Yes, that is a flush. A flush is worth different number of points depending on how many cards are in the flush. A 4-card flush is worth 4 points. A 5-card flush is worth 5 points. All of this is true so far. Now, it hasn't gotten into the specific rules, but it's got the right idea. I wish they mentioned the starter card and the fact that all the cards in your hand have to be of the same suit, but so far not too bad. To flush the crib specifically, the dealer needs to have all of the cards in the crib be of the same suit. Yes, well, what about the starter card? This can be a powerful scoring opportunity, as a flush in the crib is worth a significant number of points and cannot be easily countered by the opponent. I don't know what countered it, but 5 points is a pretty good crib. I mean, 5 points. If that's all you had in there, you're likely to have something else. But if all you had was 5 points in your crib, you'd be doing okay, since the average is around 4. So it's even a little bit better than average. But it doesn't mention at all the starter card. And I'll say this again, the official rules of the American Cribbage Congress and beyond, all these other places that have the official rules, you can have a 4-card flush in your hand or a 5-card flush in your hand if the starter card matches. But in your crib, the 4 in your crib and the starter card must all be the same suit. You can only have a 5-card flush in your crib. If you have 4, it doesn't count. And ChatGPT missed the mark a little bit when they didn't mention that. So It doesn't clear up the frustration. Not technically wrong, but definitely not right. It just kind of avoided it altogether. To increase the chances of flushing the crib, the dealer may choose to throw cards of the same suit into the crib. Yes. For example, if the dealer has a 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 of clubs, they may choose to throw the 10 of clubs into the crib to increase the chances of getting a flush. Um, First of all, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 of clubs, that's a 5 card hand, which does happen in certain variations of cribbage, I suppose, but not the ones that most people play. Alternatively, the dealer may throw cards that are unlikely to combine with the starter card to make a flush. Unlikely to combine with the starter card. You don't see the starter card till after you throw, so that's kind of a moot point. Such as cards of different suits or cards that are not consecutive. I think what they mean here is alternatively, the non-dealer may throw cards unlikely to, like, of different suits, so they can't make a flush, or cards that are not consecutive to avoid a run. Therefore, combining with the starter card, the way they phrased it was weird, and they said dealer, not non-dealer, so they missed that one too. It's worth noting that flushes only count if all the cards in the hand or crib are of the same suit. Yes, a hand or crib with 4 cards of the same suit and 1 card of a different suit does not count as a flush. I think they're trying to get there, but again, it's not clear. So anybody who was seeking clarification on this rule and talked to ChatGPT would be even more confused than before. So I don't know. You can tell me. Tell me in the comments. Tell me in the comments. Do you think ChatGPT got this one mostly right or mostly wrong? I'm going to say, since I asked specifically for flushing the crib and they made a few mistakes throughout, I'm going to say that this one was wrong. And that's probably part of my bias because this rule drives me crazy and how some people just get so worked up by it. So we're going to say this is wrong. So ChatGPT, you are 1 for 4. Okay, 1 for 4. Could be better. Could be better. I've seen you do much better. I've seen you do much better in other areas. All right, so hopefully you found this kind of interesting. ChatGPT may be able to, program code programs, and it may be able to answer advanced questions and tables. But in terms of cribbage, it's still not up to snuff. I would play it any day and be happy to kick its butt up and down the board all day and get some skunks in there. So, hey, is what it is. But I thought it was kind of interesting, and I hope you did too. If you did, you make sure you subscribe and like and all that jazz. I'm also going to say, you know what? If you want to see me almost lose my cool over this flush rule, I'm going to have a video pop up here where there's this big controversy, and some people just got so mad about it in regards to this flush. So you should make sure that watch the video, and until next time, keep on playing.